I had the coolest job that any electrical engineer could ever have on the ground crew for Solar Impulse 2, the first solar-powered airplane to fly around the world only using the power of the sun. IEEE USA has given me a competitive edge because of their support system. It is so much easier doing something and being out of your comfort zone when you have someone there saying, "You got this." IEEE USA is more than just a network, it's a family.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the IEEE USA Town Hall Presidential Candidate Forum. I'm Jonathan Cho, and I'll be one of your hosts for tonight. Joining me is our other host for tonight, 2021 Vice President of Communications, Brendan Godfrey, and the 2021 IEEE USA President, Kate Duncan, who will be joining us a little bit later. Welcome, Brendan.
Thank you, Jonathan. Tonight, we are joined by our two candidates for IEEE USA President-elect in 2022, and then automatically becoming our president in 2023. They are Keith Moore and Ed Palacio. IEEE USA is a major organizational unit of IEEE. It provides public policy advocacy on behalf of U.S. members, as well as a variety of career development services. If you are an IEEE member and you live in the United States, then you are automatically a member of IEEE USA. You can learn more about our organization at our website, which simply enough is IEEE-USA.org. This year's IEEE election, which includes the IEEE USA election, will occur on the 16th of August of this year until noon on October 1st. You should already have received information on the election from IEEE, and you'll receive further details soon. Unfortunately, statistics show that only about 1 in 8 members actually votes. We would like to thank those attending tonight's forum, as you are demonstrating that you care about IEEE and IEEE USA. We ask that you take time to vote in the upcoming elections. The candidate forum will proceed as follows. First, each of the two candidates will speak for 5 minutes or so, describing their backgrounds and summarizing their positions. Next, they will answer questions pre-submitted through our website, and then we will open the floor for a few questions from our audience. IEEE USA does not have control over the policies of other organizational units, and as a result, we ask that you limit your questions to IEEE USA only. First up is Ed Palacio. Ed?
Good evening. Good evening, all. I'm Ed Palacio, and I'm a candidate for IEEE USA President-elect. Next chart, please. So I'm going to talk about myself, why, what I think is important, what we'll be facing, and what I think I can accomplish next. So this is me. I have over 40 years developing products, primarily in defense and space. I've been everything from a design engineer to a group vice president. Today, I run a management consulting firm. I sit on multiple boards, in academia and private business, and I teach a little. Next. Within the IEEE, if we look at the bottom, at the section level, I've been pretty much everything. I've also been in the councils, I've been in area. Within the regional area, I've been involved in multiple activities, but most of my work has been in member-facing and regional-facing positions in MGA, and prior to that in RAB, in regional activities. And I've been chair of many different types of committees within that. Today, I am an outgoing Region 1 director, and as such, I sit at the boards of both IEEE, MGA, and IEEE USA. Next. Next, please. Oh, no, go back. Why am I running, right? And you know, my answer to that is because I was asked. And the reason I say this is one should never underestimate the power of the ask. I am sure that many of you are where you are in the IEEE because somebody asked. And so as you look at finding volunteers and filling leadership positions in the many committees that you may be involved in, always remember the power of the ask. I'm also running because I think I may be able to make a difference. I come out of industry. I believe more is less. I mean, less is more, the other way around. I believe we should be very good in the things we choose to pursue and discard those which we're not very good at. I believe that we should be member-centric and member-focused. It's actually better to serve the ones we have, and if we're very good at it, I think recruitment and retention will follow. And I think we have to spend a significant amount of time understanding why people are not joining and why people are not satisfied, and listening to those who are happy. I think you got to look at the past for lessons learned, but you got to focus on the future for change. We cannot be yesterday's organization tomorrow. And I think the focus has to be young professionals. I think if we can make them look at us as a professional home, I think we will turn the curve. Next. So this is the IEEE-USA strategic plan. I think it's valid. I think it's important. I think we need to stay the course. However, we need to sharpen the focus. Our three main things, public policy, career, and information, both to the membership and about the membership, continue to be key. Next. So what will IEEE-USA be facing in 2022? And I believe we have a significant issue in financial pressures. We're seeing a continual decrease in U.S. Full-paying members, and most of our money comes from membership dues. There is a push within the IEEE for reassessment of dues structure, and it's not so that the dues go up, right? It's so that there is lots of discussion if we can possibly bring dues down, and again, that provides a problem for us. We haven't been able to create alternative financial streams, and then on the spend side, cost always goes up and always overheads seldom go down. So financial pressures are real. We're going to be looking at some type of regional realignment, and most likely will affect U.S. regions. And our future status, as you look at the years, given our issues, will we be a sustainable entity? And whereas everything we do is important, we cannot do any of that if we're not sustainable. Many members really do not know or value what we do, and so we also have a significant issue in making sure that people know what IEEE-USA does and the value that they bring. Next. So what do I think I can accomplish? Well, it turns out this is a 3-year gig, right? But only the first 2 years lend themselves to getting things done. You come in the first year as president-elect, you're responsible for the strategic plan and the strategic aspect, and then the following year, you're the president, and now you're responsible for execution. But you need to choose your targets very carefully. Why? Because in this organization, every year, 50% of the leadership changes. And nothing really big gets accomplished in 1 year. So, and we are a consensus-based organization, which means only things that are well socialized and supported get done, right? So we focus on the strategic plan. We intelligently prepare to react to whatever comes our way. We move the needle on communication. We move the needle on trying to be relevant to young professionals and industry practitioners. And then we focus on understanding what we're best at and whittle away the rest. I mean, I come from industry. I really believe in core competency. Hold your core close and invest in that. But things that are not your core can be done by someone else. Make sure that we're not competing with ourselves within the IEEE, and find things that other OUs do and make sure they do them and then take advantage of it. At the end, I believe that this job is to be the steward of the Institute, which means that hopefully when I leave, it was better than when I entered. And with that, I finish. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. And now Keith Moore.
Thank you, Brandon. I'm watching for my slides to come up. Jonathan said it would be a moment. There's a lot of shuffling behind the scenes to get the slides up. There we are. So this is me. My name is Keith Moore. I also am a candidate for IEEE-USA President-elect. My email address is there if you'd like to contact me and ask me any of my opinions. I'm glad to engage with you. And there's my WordPress site. Next slide, please. So about me, I work for the U.S. government. I install networks and computer systems all over the world. I've worked for various government organizations with Big Brothers, Big Sisters, all sorts of churches, Civil Air Patrol Scouts, all sorts of youth activities, Cyber Patriot, Huge City. I'm a registered PE. I work as a computer scientist is my job title right now. I'm actually have a bachelor's in electrical and computer engineering and an MBA in management information systems, and I'm working on a doctorate degree right now. I come from modest beginnings, as most engineers do, and just work hard to try to make a change and do good things in the industry. Next. So my IEEE experience. In IEEE, just as most everybody, I also started down at the local level. Someone asked me if I would like to volunteer, and I said sure. So I've started off as the secretary, been the treasurer, vice chair. Also served as the PACE chair, which was very rewarding. Also was the founding WE chair and the YP chair. At the region level, I've served on the IEEE PACE board as the Region 6 IEEE PACE representative, and also served on the MGA board and IEEE-USA board as the Region 6 director. So a lot of region and big IEEE experience as well. Down at the region level, I served as the area chair. Also been involved in conferences. I'm an Eta Kappa Nu professional member. Conference I've been involved in, the conferences I'm involved in, the GHTC conferences throughout the years. I was started out as the tech program chair and was the vice chair and chair there. Great program if you like to be involved in humanitarian efforts and humanitarian technologies. Next slide, please. So IEEE-USA. Brendan gave us a good introduction of what IEEE-USA is and what we do. And but there's just from my words, so you can hear it from my lips, IEEE-USA is simply the organization within IEEE that focuses on people who live and work in the United States. Now that means whether you were born here, or whether you're the first generation that's come here, or whether your family has been here for generations and generations, or whether you're working here on a visa. IEEE-USA is here to support you in a number of roles, both in representing you for the legislative activities, for promoting the career and promoting your career in particular, and other activities, professional activities. So that's what IEEE is generally for. And you can read the bullets here that gives a little bit more detail, but IEEE-USA is all about the members of IEEE that are in the United States. Just as there are organizations overseas in other areas that serve those in those areas before their legislative bodies and such. IEEE-USA does that here. Next slide. So here's my stump, and it's a basic stump that says we're going to try to do all the things that IEEE-USA does, and kissing babies and all that. But let me tell you this way. IEEE-USA, we do have a lot of challenges that are upcoming. There's no doubt about that. The main thing that's really hitting all professional organizations, IEEE-USA and IEEE alike, is just the general trend in lower numbers of professional organizations. That's hitting IEEE-USA especially hard because we're a subset of big IEEE. So we're definitely going to have some very difficult decisions to make in the future. How that involves being on the big board level, the reorganization of IEEE at the board level, how we are represented on the board, how IEEE-USA members are continue to be represented. Those are all important things, and as the next couple years come, we're going to see those things brought before the board, and I would like to be there for you to represent you. Next slide, please. So this, once again, is my email address and my site. I want to say thank you for all of your support, and looking forward to seeing what the outcome of the election is. Just a quick word before you go to the questions, though. I'd like to say that Ed and I are both good friends. We served together on the board together, and both of us can shake hands and smile when this is all over, and we'll work with each other to to further IEEE USA's mission. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Keith.
Absolutely.
We now turn to the question and answer session. If you have questions for our candidates, please submit them in the comment box or the live chat section. And we will first begin with a few questions that were submitted earlier and then turn to the live questions that have been coming in. Our first question is, what is the most important issue confronting IEEE USA, and what actions would you take to begin addressing it? Keith?
Thank you, Brendan. So the most important issue facing IEEE USA is the one, I believe, is the one that I mentioned a few moments ago, that general trend of all professional organizations and downward membership numbers. I think that's definitely affecting IEEE USA very strongly. It affects us in our budgets and what we can do. It affects us in many ways. And what I would like to do to try to overcome this is to continue a lot of the same things we're doing. So I don't have a whole lot of brand new, bright ideas to give you on this. I'm kind of a build it and they will come kind of guy. I think if we show the value to our members, they will become members of IEEE and stay to be members and stay to volunteer with us. It's like the most important thing to most people is the thing that they will support. Here in the United States, we certainly have disposable income. It's not that the membership fees for IEEE USA are onerous, so we can certainly afford it. The question is, what value do we provide? And if we provide the value, people will be able to spend the money on it and continue to be a member. We certainly are as important as many things that people spend money on. Every day, people get up and they spend money on their daily coffee. If we can be as important to the members as their daily coffee, we are going to have no problem keeping members. So that's kind of the big high ground goal, is to be as important as coffee. If we can prove our value of membership to our members so that they want to spend that little bit of extra on it, we'll have no problems keeping our members. But in addition to that, we also need to continue to provide value to those members that we have, whether they're young, whether they're mid-career, whether they're retired, and they're life members. And we need to support all those. And I'll support any way that we can do all those. Thank you.
Ed?
So I think Keith covered it well. The issue is, the value proposition. But for me, so I look at it as you need to be a sustainable organization to be able to do any of the things you want to do, right? So it is about sustainability, and there's no question that given how we make money, which is member dues, and given the trends, the issue now becomes, can we understand the whys, the why we seem to not be successful in many of the things that we tried before. Now, on the one hand, we clearly understand why we're losing some of the members, right? We are significantly high in average age, so boomers are retiring and moving into live members. So we understand that. So the key to the discussion becomes, where is the attraction? Why are we not capable of bringing in or being important or becoming the professional home of incoming young practitioners? And I think therein lies our paradigm, our difficulty. We need to understand, and we need to also understand that within the IEEE, there are many different careers and career journeys, and so when you look at the value, the various journeys, or when you do some journey mapping on whether you are a young industry practitioner moving to a individual contributor, or if you are an educator moving either to education or into research, that those journeys require different things, right? And it cannot be fulfilled with one simple pass. And so for me, I think we need to try to understand the journey, and then to understand what value proposition we can offer them, and be a little bit more focused to be able to change that. I think at the end of the day, it is about understanding member and what members need, and then trying to see if we can, as an organization, provide that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. The next question will be for you again, Ed. What has been your most rewarding experience as an IEEE volunteer?
Okay, so let me say that I've been an IEEE volunteer for a good 30 years, right? The one thing that I can say, and I'm going to give you, not a single answer, but maybe a couple of answers. So what I have found is that it didn't matter what job I had. Okay, two things always became obvious. I learned something, and I got more from that involvement than I gave. And I learned from the people. I learned from the task that was provided, and I learned from the examples of the amazing folks and mentors that I've had through my career. Right, so it's always been, and I can say that from every aspect of my volunteer experience. Now, the job that I had the most fun at was when I was chair of student activities. I thought that was one of my first jobs as a chair on the at the then RAP board, and I found students and the people that volunteered for that job to be absolutely amazing, and I had a tremendous time doing that. I think that my most fulfilling job, I think, when I was MGA in charge of strategic planning, I think that was a job that forced us to think, and at that time the push was to put the member first. And so I think we did some really good work, and I enjoyed that very much. And this last set of jobs that I've had as the regional director, I think has been the most fulfilling from a point of view that I've been significantly enriched by both being in the many boards that you have to sit in, and then by working with some very amazing senior people. So you always learn, you always watch. And so I think that, those three different places are giving me different things, but I can always say I always get more than what I put in. Thank you.
Keith?
Thank you, Brendan. So I don't know if you want to call it favorite. Probably I'm like, yeah, there's so many good things that I've done and been able to take part in and participate in IEEE over the years been volunteering. This top among the list for me would have to be being the PACE chair. At the local level, it was great. Got to see things down at the local level, but the region level, working with IEEE-USA PACE board, got to see so many projects from so many different areas across my region. They got funded and got things done. Everything from Scout merit badges to drone competitions to IEEE. Trying to remember the name of the competition, the IEEE competition for the programming. That's just amazing how many different opportunities those open up. Those PACE dollars from IEEE-USA opened up, and it was really rewarding to be able to see. You get the feedback on all those projects that everybody did, how many people were involved. See the pictures of all the people, all the smiling faces. It was just very encouraging. But for me personally, down in things that I got to do personally with my own hands and with my own personal interaction, that would probably be the GHTC, working with GHTC. That was very rewarding. I got to see all sorts of young entrepreneurs and engineers come forward with their ideas on how to better serve humanity, mostly the underserved humanity populations. So that was very rewarding. I got to meet people from all over the world. That's another thing. Just in general, IEEE, I get to meet so many people of like mind that are working in different fields, working in fields very similar to mine, working some that are separate from mine, that get to hear all the interesting things they do. It's just very enriching and rewarding to be able to interact with all these highly intelligent people and hear about their lives and their jobs and what they do. So yeah, it is difficult to put a finger on it, Ed. I agree. It's hard to say what was the best thing I've done or the best thing I've been involved in, but there's just so many. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Keith and Ed. So everyone, thank you for submitting your questions beforehand. The questions that we selected for tonight were based on the topics that were submitted. So we collected all the most similar questions together. And now we will open up the floor for a few questions from the audience. If you have a question for our candidates, please submit them in the comments or live chat section, and we will try to get our best to get to as many of them in the remaining time that we have. So Keith and Ed, we do have a couple questions from our audience so far. So for our audience, I would also like to remind them that since our candidates and our membership all come from different career and industries, we'd like to remind them that not everyone is a public policy expert. So please try and keep your questions, to as IEEE USA's future and vision as much as possible. So Keith and Ed, here's our first question from one of our audience members. It would be useful if the candidates discussed how people who believe they can fill positions being taken by H-1B holders can protest in order to get a job. There is no mechanism for this. So Keith and Ed, do either of you have any thoughts on the H-1B issues and maybe how how you might be able to provide any insight for them in, for those displaced by H-1B?
So let me say that IEEE-USA has taken a lot of positions on H-1B, and I am familiar with the positions that IEEE has taken, and it comes down primarily to deal with the organizations that go out of their way to bring in folks in jobs that really will not lead to a long-term transition to the United States, right? And so they tend to be abusive for everybody involved. I think that at this point in time, this is I say policy and politics, and so we can look at IEEE-USA to take these positions, but I don't know what an individual can do. I don't know what an individual can do with respect to protesting that.
Thanks, Ed. Great question. Thanks, Ed, for whoever asked that question. So H-1B visas, as Ed said, we have a lot of, I would call them incremental improvements that IEEE-USA has proposed, and some have been enacted over the last 10 years or so that we backed, and we gave a position statement to improve the H-1B visa process. These are all incremental things. Like once again, as Ed said, it's a political process. It's something that we at IEEE can't just snap our fingers and make it right. Certainly, if we get a president or someone in authority in the United States with enough buy-in to that issue, certainly we could see some quick movement on it. But at current time, we see incremental improvements, and that's what we must do. We must continue providing the good, solid, trusted opinion to our legislative members and the legislative body so that they can make wise decisions and make improvements. How somebody could do a protest right now, you're right, there's not a mechanism in place. The best thing you can do is voice your experiences in the media and in social circles and social media, things of that nature. But we can push for providing that mechanism in the future. We can put that into our position statements that we give some method of feedback that allows those who have been abused to give anonymous reports, perhaps. That's certainly something we can do. Whether or not that'll be adopted is beyond our control, but we can provide our influence toward it. Thank you.
Thank you for your response, Keith and Ed. So this next question from one of our audience members, Kevin Johnson asks, what is your position on IEEE-USA advocacy for national reform of employee non-compete agreements? And how would you prioritize that advocacy versus other issues?
Okay, I'll go first on this one, Art. So I'm not very keenly familiar with the non-compete agreements, but I'm aware of it. I was made aware of it before this meeting. Basically, it's when large organizations who are strong competitors require their employees to sign something saying, I will not go to work for one of your competitors if I ever quit this job. Sometimes it's for a number of years, sometimes it's forever. What this boils down to is that the states have the law creating authority in this at this time. Each state has, I think it's California, it's illegal for that to happen right now. They're non-binding. If you sign one, it doesn't matter. In other states, it is binding. So we can bring that up in the IEEE-USA policy statement area. Personally, for me, it's kind of like dating someone and them saying, want me to provide a prenuptial, saying, I won't date anybody you know for 1 year or 2 years or forever. To me, that's kind of going a little overboard. Certainly, I work for the government. If I stop working for the government, if I retire next year, I can't do anything legally because with any contractors I've had interaction with over the last several years. But as long as there's nothing ethical like that needs to be taking place, I see no reason why we should allow or support these non-compete agreements. I think we should definitely limit them to certain specific situations, such as those who are in high authority positions, things of that nature. Thank you.
So I'm somewhat familiar with the ongoing legislation, and because I was a senior exec, I'm actually familiar with the issue. So let me just say, right? So I've seen the exclusions, right? It's the exclusion for people like a senior executive who gets a large sum of money as a severance package, and signs a non-compete, and I find that's fine. And a person who sells a corporation, and as a result of that sales agreement, signs a non-compete over a certain amount of time, either in the area, a specific geographic area, and I think that's fine. But I think that issues associated with, say, an engineer not being able to, say, leave a company and go to another company that is a competitor actually cuts their ability to actually make money, right? To move in their career. And so I think that aspect of the non-compete is important. Now, how important is this over all the other issues that IEEE USA is pushing? Look, I believe it's important. It's an important issue within the IEEE USA, but to give you a rank of where it is, it's important. And there are many important things that IEEE USA is doing that I support as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed and Keith. So while we wait on some more audience questions, Brendan, I think we'll be returning to some of the pre-submitted audience questions. If you'd be happy to take over for that.
Yes, thank you, Jonathan. We have an interesting question here. Basically, should IEEE USA be helping members to become political leaders or political appointees, either working on our own or in collaboration with other organizations? Ned?
So let me just say, obviously, we want our members to be involved in the political process. Right? As a matter of fact, we want our citizens to be involved in the political process. Right? And I think we do that in a multiplicity of ways, right? We do that by making them be able to engage with their local folks, and the various things that we tend to do. With respect to should we support them from a political point of view, I think that kind of moves a little bit away from who we are as a professional organization. And so whereas, I would say be involved in the political process, be involved locally, be involved statewide, be involved. Your involvement is your involvement. And if you become a politician, and it is important for us to tell you our views. I think you get to do that, but I really believe that is a very personal aspect and a little bit outside of what we as a professional organization should be doing.
Keith?
So another good question. As far as nonpartisan involvement goes, yeah, absolutely. We should encourage our members to be very active. I believe we should expand the intern program that we have within the U.S. Congress. I think that'd be great if we could somehow sponsor more people to go and do that. Everybody I've spoken to that's actually done that, I haven't personally, but people I've spoken to have done that, said they felt like they were making a huge difference in the world, that they got great benefits from personally out of it, and they saw a lot of good being done. So any way that we can encourage people to do that, if we can somehow get corporate sponsors to help IEEE provide that trusted scientific opinion that provides our lawmakers the knowledge they need to make the wise decisions, yeah, absolutely. We need to support it. Thank you.
Our next question from earlier is, what role should IEEE-USA play in helping to coordinate activities among the 6 U.S. regions?
Coordinating activities between the U.S. 6 regions. IEEE-USA does do that at sometimes. It has done it all throughout the years in the past through various conferences and other things of that nature, but we can absolutely always do more. Region 1 through Region 6 are the U.S. regions, and they have varying levels from year to year of cooperation among them. We, with Region 6, have had joint meetings with Region 4 and Region 1 because they're somewhat close, and our members sometimes like to have those joint meetings together. But anything that IEEE-USA can do to continue to foster that brotherhood, that sisterhood amongst our members, that's what we need to be doing. We need to be opening up communications channels. We need to be able to provide venues for people. Anything that we can do that within our means to further that end. Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
So I think that IEEE-USA is actually the perfect place, right, for that level of coordination. I mean, you know, MGA is worldwide. IEEE-USA really focuses on the 6 U.S. regions, and as Keith says, you know, the good news about the pandemic is that we have learned to be significantly broader geographically in our reach. I think that it is important. I mean, I believe not only is it easy, but I believe it's important that IEEE-USA takes a stand in this area, because I think that as we broaden, we may be able to enrich the value of the propositions that we give out, right, of the things that we put out there. There are great things that are happening in Region 2, the great things that are happening in Region 1. One of the things that we did this year in Region 1, in my region, is we had a great conference and we opened it and we sent it out to multiple regions. And that 200, 300 people conference that would normally run in Long Island ran in 1,000, had 1,000 entries, right? Volunteer attendees. And so I think that we are not only in a perfect position, but I think that's exactly what we need to be doing more of. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith and Ed. And I'm sorry, Brendan. So before we go on to the next question, I would like to address one of the comments we received from one of our audience members regarding the question about politics and if should we encourage or be helping members to go into politics. While IEEE-USA doesn't necessarily work in partisan aspects, we do have the IEEE-USA WISE internship, the Washington internship for students of engineering, which we provide to college-age students to give them a chance to come to Washington, D.C. for a year to work and do research projects alongside in D.C. and be able to learn about the public policy aspect. So, while it's not necessarily politics, we do provide our membership, a lot of opportunities on learning about the public policy and how that process works. So, thank you, Todd, for providing that insight.
And thank you, Jonathan. Our next question is both Ed and Keith, you well know that the term of president is only a year long, very short. What do you feel each of you you would try hardest to accomplish within the 1 year that you would have as president?
Who gets to answer first?
I think
Me?
it's your bad.
Okay.
Okay, so look, as I stated, right? As I stated in, I think in one of my slides, you know, this is a 2-year gig and 1 year as a president. And interestingly enough, you know, whereas the president has power for many things, you know, he has the power of his stature, and he has the control of the agenda. The one thing the president does not have is the power of decree, right? You cannot say, you know, I am the president of IEEE, and therefore you're going to do this. The will of the body, is what moves everything within IEEE. It doesn't matter which board you're in, but it's the will of the body. And so the president has to choose where he or she, right, is going to make a stand to try to move and get that will of the body to push in a direction. Now, for me, I think the critical aspect is to try to understand what value can we bring, where is our value proposition, and how can we maximize that and make a push in that direction, as well as making sure that the strategic plan continues to move forward. The one thing we cannot do is on a yearly basis change the focus of a strategic plan, right? Because then we go right one way and then left one way and then right one way. So for me, it is focusing on the plan and then critically focus on the value proposition, so that maybe we can turn those curves around.
Okay, so another great question. It is very short term. It's 1 year, and it said that you really got 2 years, the 1 year before, to try to get things smooth the path for when you're ready to do something. And in the third year, you're generally either following up on things or you're supporting your successor. And most of the time, it's supporting your successor. But there's sometimes I was fortunate in my region director role. We pushed for the move to come out west because they had the move vehicle back east. Didn't happen under my reign, if you want to call it that, during my term as director. But it did happen this year, so I was tickled to hear that. And I'd like to say it's amazing what you can get done. We don't care who gets the credit for it. So I'm all of the opinion that we continue to do the good things that we can do. There's certainly limits to what a president can do, as Ed pointed out. And there's certainly some people that are very good at pushing the ball forward. I will do my very best. That's all I can promise you, is I will do my very best to try to continue to move the ball forward, to continue to make IEEE-USA a sustainable organization and further the programs that we are engaged in.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Our next question is, with membership declining, how do you plan on recruiting and retraining young professionals? Keith?
Recruiting and retraining young professionals. Sorry, my phone was ringing there. Recruiting and retraining young professionals. Well, IEEE-USA does a good job of providing different training opportunities out. I've seen those a number of times over the years, where we provide different potential possibilities of training opportunities for young engineers. That's a great way to do it. But to retain our young professionals, what we've got to do is continue to communicate with them. We've got to provide opportunities for them and provide the knowledge of the opportunities that are out there for them. I personally am familiar with several young professionals in the last 10 years or so who found their next job through IEEE and IEEE-USA. They were very fortunate to be wise enough to develop their career and develop their contacts through IEEE, so that when it came time to find a new job, they already knew people. People knew who they were, knew what they'd worked on, and it was fairly easy. It wasn't a huge, difficult process of going through resumes to people that you don't know. They pretty much talked to their network of people they already knew, and people already knew they worked with, and people they had talked about their work with, and they said, "Hey, we've got a job opening over here. Would you like to come?" And they came over and did it. So that's what we've got to do. We've got to show that value to our young engineers. And a lot of that is done through the programs that we have, whether it's the career services for job placement and things, and job advertisement, whether it's through the different activities up on the Hill, where we make sure that all those are given equal opportunity to everybody. All those are good things, and we need to continue doing them and continue to do them well. Thank you.
So I'm going to take a slightly different point, right? As we all know, you don't join IEEE USA. I mean, the recruitment and the retention is IEEE, right? And IEEE USA is part of that value proposition. So maybe one should say, how can IEEE in the USA recruit and retain, right? And that proposition, right, is multifold, because I think, like I said before, our members, given their career path, given their journeys, all have different needs, right? And so for me, the key is focusing and understanding the needs, and then trying to fulfill the needs, and doing that for each individual segment within each of their specific types. Now, maybe there's 6, 7, 8, 9 different journeys that we can think about in different people's careers, but I believe that understanding that and understanding the inflection point, as they move from one stage of their journey to the next stage, and being the organization that can provide their valuable value so that they can move themselves through the career becomes critical. So again, and I think Keith and I are always in the same thinking in these things: be member focused, understand your membership, and then do it. But the membership problem is not an IEEE USA problem. It's a problem of the IEEE in the USA, which includes all the things that IEEE does, including the tabs and the EABs. And right? It is an enormity of, so we as USA can focus on the things we are good at, which I believe brings great value, right? In that whole aspect of career and professional. But I think it's a lot more than us. I don't think we alone fix that problem. I think IEEE in the USA fixes that problem, which kind of ties back to the question you say, how can IEEE USA coordinate activity throughout the 6 US region? I think this is the critical aspect of that linkage. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is, how can IEEE USA help US members to become more engaged with our activities?
Who gets that one? Me? Okay.
Yes.
I think, okay, so let me say that I'm going to post the following. IEEE USA has great activities. So, right? And let me also pose that anyone who gets involved with it actually can get a lot of fulfillment. So I think that we have to uptake. And by the way, I would say the communication folks this year have done a tremendous job in doing just that for us, is advertising and putting out all the things that you can do by being a member within IEEE, and just getting the word out, being present, having the opportunity, showing the many things that are available to them that can be done. Because I believe we have a lot of great things to do. I mean, I find that value can only, IEEE membership is, it's an active sport, right? It's a contact sport. If you do nothing, you get very little for it. If you do much, you get an enormous amount for it. So it is in letting people know what can be done, where they can do it, how they can do it, that I think you get more people involved. Thank you.
Okay, so how can we get IEEE members more engaged with our activities? IEEE USA has great staff. Let me say that out front. And IEEE in general has great staff that do a great job. But there's a place and a time for staff activities, and there's a place and time for volunteer activities. IEEE and IEEE USA as well are both very much grassroots member-driven organizations. If we provide more opportunities for people to volunteer, we'll get more volunteers, especially if it's things they enjoy doing. If we have a conference upcoming or some activity, rather than having our staff carry this heavy load that they're working overtime to try to get the job done, put out the call for volunteers. Tell them, if you come and volunteer 4 hours at this event, we'll give you free access to the event. If you come and volunteer the entire event, we'll pay your trip out here, or we'll pay for your meals for you, or something of that nature. That's what we do in IEEE is share the benefits. So that's one good way we can do it is continue to engage our members and give them opportunities. Make sure that we advertise them and get the word out, saying we're looking for somebody to help out with this, and that's how generally, other than the person-to-person people enlisting someone, but just seeing the call for activities and volunteers, it's a powerful tool. We need to use it more.
We're just about out of time with two more questions. The first of them is, what steps will you take as president of IEEE-USA to assure that our organization and the profession more generally are inclusive and welcoming for all?
I think I can go first this time. So inclusive and welcoming for all. The main thing I could do as president is continue to uphold those policies and procedures that we have already in place that guarantee equal access for all, that guarantees inclusivity. But one of the main things that a president of any organization can do is appointees. When you make appointees, make sure you appoint people from the various different represented people that are there in the organization amongst the members. Make sure that you're well represented. And so I think all of us would continue. Each of us would continue to do that, whether it's me or Ed or anyone else that's got any right mind about the decent thing to do and the right thing to do. We'll work toward making sure everyone has an opportunity to participate. Thank you.
As happens often, I think Keith and I are in complete agreement. So IEEE has very good policy in this arena, and I think leads organizations in this arena. But the other aspect is you lead, right? You lead by example, and so it is indeed, as Keith said, making your appointments. Make sure that your appointments are such that they are indeed inclusive. And that they're broad, and then the way you conduct yourself in every aspect of your your professional and political life, right? I mean, in political, using the term within IEEE, that you reflect exactly the things that you say are important. Okay.
Jonathan? You're muted, Jonathan.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you, Ed and Keith. So we did receive one question from one of our audience members. So one of our audience members asks, IEEE in the U.S. has had a tremendous drop of membership in recent years. What is your plan to decrease the drop or stop it?
So look, we have been talking about this, right? And let me just say, without a doubt of a shout or a shadow of a doubt, this is not a one-trick solution, right? There is no silver bullet in this discussion. I think that the drop in membership is we're trying to understand, and we're also trying to understand the paradigms, right? Is it a value issue? I believe it is. Is it a generational issue that says in today's view, you don't really need to join a professional organization? People come out with the same view as I did 30 or 40 years ago, to think that IEEE was the place to be because if you're a professional, that's where you must be. And so I think that this is, the $1 million question, and the answer is quite difficult, and we haven't figured it out yet. So if I were to tell you that I would give you a single answer, it would be rather glib. Right? Because if I had it, we would have turned this around quite a while ago. So what I will tell you, that we need to spend an awful lot of time understanding this issue from a multiplicity of facets, right? We need to understand the generational. We need to understand both causality as well as correlation. We need to spend time in this arena, because if we don't, we will be an organization without membership, and that's not an organization I want to be in. So I am sorry, I can't give you an answer on how I would stop it, but I would tell you that I think in our administration, whether it's Keith or mine, that we have a lot of work to do to try to understand the factors that are making that happen. Thank you.
Another great question. What can we do to turn this trend around? That's the issue. And it is possible to buck the trends of worldwide trends. It is possible. We see it in some unique cases. So what can we do to make that unique case ours? What can we do? And I'm with Ed. There's no silver bullet here. What we've got to do is continue to know our members. If we know our members, we know them well, and we provide what they want, we respond to their desires and their needs, we're going to be their coffee in the morning. They're going to get up and say, hey, IEEE-USA works for us. We're going to keep working with them. That's it. Thanks, guys.
Fantastic. Thank you for the responses. So, Brendan, I think we have time for one last question.
Yes, we do. And this is indeed the last question. And it is, what will IEEE-USA look like in 10 years? And how will your term in office help the organization to get there? Keith?
10 years from now, let me tell you exactly what IEEE-USA will look like. No, I can't do that. But I can give you a guess. I can give you my hopes. That's certainly what I can give you. I hope, and my guess is that IEEE-USA will continue to be here. We'll continue to be providing value to our members. We'll be continue to press the into the future, press toward better and good things, both in those legislative things, continuing to provide that trusted advice to our legislators, and in our careers, and in every one of our careers, giving us information we need to make good career decisions, giving us help in finding the next career position, and helping our new engineers and those even before they become engineers choose this profession. Those are all good things we have to keep doing, and I think we're going to keep doing it. That's my hope. That's my dream. As IEEE-USA is around for a long time, continuing to help those members of IEEE who live and work in the United States, regardless of their circumstances, or where they come from, or how they got here. They're here working for us and working with us arm in arm. We need to make sure that we support them. Thanks.
So I'm going to give you two answers. And it's very dependent on what the leadership and the organization does over the next 4 or 5 years. If we don't do anything, and if we don't change the things that we're doing, if we don't figure out the problems, there will be no IEEE-USA in 10 years. However, if we really spend the time and effort that we must, and we should, then IEEE-USA will be a sustainable and thriving organization that provides meaning and provides value within the IEEE such that people want to be part of, right? And so everything has to happen in the next 4 or 5 years. I do not believe we have such a long running roadway that says we can keep doing what we're doing with the results that we've been having and think that we're going to succeed, right? So my view, it's very dependent on what the leadership, the next 3, 4, 5 presidents do, and more important than the president, the directors that sit within the IEEE board, because it is the directors who have the power, right? We do the will of the body, and the body is the one that provides the motions and the votes and approves the budgets and things of that nature. So it will either be sustainable and look very good, as I hope it will be. I share the positive side, but I'm also going to tell you, unless we boogie woogie oogie till we just can't boogie no more, and fix this problem, it may not be very good. Okay.
Well, thank you very much, Ed and Keith. I know that I certainly do, and the audience as well, appreciate your thoughtful remarks. I also want to thank the many people who tuned in to hear your presentation. The final thing I'd like to ask of everyone who is on the line now is be sure to vote. Be one of those 1 in 8 who actually votes and makes your views about the future of IEEE-USA and IEEE more generally known to us, sets us on the right course to the future. Thank you very much. Jonathan?
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Brendan. And folks, with that being said, this does conclude our IEEE USA Town Hall Presidential Candidate Forum. I'd like to thank my co-host, Dr. Brendan Godfrey, the Vice President of IEEE USA Vice President of Communications, for joining me tonight, and Ed and Keith for joining us tonight as well and providing our membership insight about yourselves for the upcoming elections. So to our membership and to our audience, please visit IEEE USA's annual election page for more information about our running candidates and the upcoming elections. And as they said before, please don't forget to vote when the elections begin on August 16th until October 1st at noon Eastern Standard Time. Eligible voting members may access their ballots electronically at that time. Thank you, and hope you all have a good night.